welcome back everyone, and we are here for our bonus episode with Michael, and we are going to answer some of your questions and just some questions in general here. So to kick things off, something we typically ask in every episode this season was, what does the cross mean to you?
I'd say the cross, it's an interesting thing because you have this guy named Jesus who came 2,000 years ago, and it's kind of an interesting symbol because it's kind of now it's almost a timeless, symbol now. And like I was saying earlier about, just the whole, God interacting with you. I think that's like from the beginning of time, this is what I believe, and that is God created us as humans to interact with others and to interact with Him.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're looking at that supernatural experience, God's always beckoning for us to reach out to Him and interact with Him. A lot of, we've been reading in Ezekiel and Daniel lately, and almost every chapter in Ezekiel, it's a rough book to read through, by the way. There's some crazy stuff. I always think somebody should make a TikTok of all these really random Bible verses, be like, here, this is in the Bible too. But it's like, and then they will know that I am God. It's like God is trying to knock on our skulls to say, hey, I am here. I want to be in a relationship with you. I want to interact with you. I want to love you. And the cross is the ultimate way that God reaches out to us and says, hey, I made this sacrifice of my son to have this relationship with you. And if you believe in my son dying on the cross for you, you're going to have this supernatural eternal life starting now, working into the future. You have your life after your death on the earth with me eternally. Like, that's what I want you to do. I want you to have a life outside this earth right now with me, and also after you're dead with me. And so I feel like the cross is the ultimate reach out from God to say, I want you.
Amen. And it's a symbol of love, and that's what Jesus did for us. He demonstrated that love for us, and the Bible tells us that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So that's awesome. And along the same lines of the light of Christ in our lives through the cross, what are some ways that you're able to shine your light to those that you work with and are doing business with in the industry?
Yeah. So, as a business owner and a leader at my company, I got to say it's challenging. I think the main thing that I try to communicate to all the people that I work with and interact with is, that I am a Christian. Often I'll say, hey, at church we do this, or, hey, I heard this recently, or, something like that. I try to bring it up. I'd say I'm not anywhere as confident as I probably should be. And, we have all these regrets and stuff like that. But, often I'll kind of say, hey, and there's actually two other things I totally forgot to bring up earlier. I'm going to have to ramble a little bit here again. But so the first one is there's a part of our church. It's called the Care Center. It's in Loveland, Ohio. And it reaches out to everybody, anybody struggling, whether they're, in need of some groceries, or if you're needing a career boost, if you're needing whatever. It's a great central place to all kinds of access to all kinds of things. If you are struggling with anything in your life, spiritually, physically, whatever, go to the Care Center. It's awesome. But one of the things that there was a need for was we had some career training classes. We had some resume building. We didn't have some other software training. And I love software. I just, going back to the Lotus 1-2-3 days, I just love the idea that you can create something on the computer. And so I was talking with the director, Greg, and I was like, hey, is there any, opportunity to have a software course to help some of these people out to, they trying to go back in and getting, retrained or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, definitely. And it was pretty quickly and apparent that um, there's a lot of fear of technology out there, and we can conquer that. And so I started a course, and just a really random thing, but I sometimes will bring that up. I was like, hey, I I started a computer course at my church, and it's really helpful for people to get over their fear of computers, and trying to do that because when people know that you're a Christian, they'll bring up other conversations often. And so, it's not like I really have the opportunity to be like, oh yeah, God's really moving, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, dude, I don't care about God. Why'd you bring that up? And so it's a little bit more of a, they know where I am. And so, I pray for opportunities to, and they'll come to me and like, hey, I you know, if you could keep me in your prayers, that'd be awesome. And so I kind of feel like there's some knowledge there. They know I go to church. They know what church I go to. They know kind of where I stand about that. So it's kind of an open invitation, and it can be scary. I'm their boss usually,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like it's like, hey, this is personal, but so from a business point of view, there's that, and then um, something we haven't talked about yet is Spark at the Ark. So
Yeah.
it was a really great opportunity to like, oh, you're a believer too. That's really
Hmm.
cool. I got to hear about your how you integrated God and your faith and the amusement industry or attractions or theater or
Hmm.
film or whatever. So um, uh, and then also it's also great to meet people. I know when you talked with Alan Green about the prayer breakfast at
Yeah.
IAPA, that's where I met plenty of people as well. And that's been, it, it, it's kind of funny. It's called a prayer breakfast, but it's just more of a opportunity
Fellowship.
for
Yeah.
Christians to get together and network and listen to a speaker. And then there's usually a starting prayer and an ending prayer. So it's
It's
not like
better.
it's not like a prayer night or something
Yeah.
like that where you're intently praying for people.
Hmm.
So um but then also I'll bring up um in conversation quite a bit is my kids go to Christian school. They go to Mars Hill Academy. I would be a terrible student, by the way. Mars Hill Academy is directly across the highway from Kings Island.
Oh.
So yes, when I've dropped them off at school, sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, that's a really cool sunrise picture of
Hmm.
Orion and Diamondback in the Eiffel Tower." And so, but I'll mention a little bit about the school, and yeah, we go to this Christian classical school, and so sometimes that opens up that door of like, hey, I don't know this person at all, but now they know at least a little bit about that. Um, and I have to go on this tangent because I think it's cool, and that is a thing that my wife and I started 6 or 5 years ago called Coaster Camp.
Hmm.
And so this has nothing to do with the rest of the talk, but it does have to do with Mars Hill Academy. So a while back, um, John Robinson from Amusement Today, formerly or also from Bill Robinson Incorporated or William H. Robinson Incorporated, a marketing firm. Um, he and his dad had a company called William H. Robinson Incorporated, and they did small parks marketing.
Hmm.
So they actually did the marketing for Indiana Beach, Lake Winnie, and um, a few other parks that I'm forgetting. So they were kind of the marketing department for these parks. And in fact, I mentioned Lost Coaster and Cornball Express. They were there marketing that. They came up with Ivy Crow, who's the mascot at Enid Beach. So long history in the industry and marketing. He's also a huge Bengals fan. He's one of the like professional fans. He's got the big orange and black mohawk.
That's
So
awesome.
that's Big John. Bengals Bomb Squad is his fan group down there tailgating.
Hmm.
And then So I was talking with him. I was also talking a bit with Mark Rosenzweig. I mentioned him earlier. He's with 3DX Scenic right now. He used to be with Right Entertainment, as well as Zamperla. And so Mark and I are real tight. And John asked me, he's like, why isn't there a coaster camp in the summer? And I kind of stuck with me. I'm like, that's a good question. There's camps for everything else.
Hmm.
Like my kids have all kinds of opportunities to go off to theater camp and this and that. And so my wife and I decided, okay, we're going to start this. And so we were like, what do we do in coaster camp? And we're like, well, we design roller coasters. That's what we got to do. And we go to parks. And so each year it's a little bit different, different goals and different things like that. So it's grades going into 5 through 8. You don't have to go to Mars Hill if you want to come to the coaster camp. Please do. It's great. So we build a CDX Coaster Dynamics blocks model. It's a Cyclone. It's actually up on my shelf over there. Yeah, right up there.
Nice.
Or that's not it. Sorry. Over there.
Huh.
So the CDX Cyclone. There was actually a CDX Blocks Beast for a year or two. It was a
Oh,
brown
wow.
one, super rare. If you have one, you've got some really cool stuff right there. So the CDX Cyclone, it builds in maybe 3 hours, 5 hours with a team of like 4 people. And so it works really well to create a roller coaster model that works. Like, that's the trend,
There you
obviously.
go.
And then they theme it and then they market it. And
Hmm.
so on Thursday, they come in and do a presentation for all the parents about what they created that week. And so it's this really awesome way that they can, be stretched in a lot of ways, use their creativity. And then on Friday, we go to amusement park and talk about what we learned that week. So Kings Island has been for the 5 years, and Kentucky Kingdom was the other year.
Nice.
Um, and so, yeah, we bring in a bunch of different guest speakers. This year was really cool. On the first day of the week or second day of the week, we had a behind the scenes tour at Stricker's Grove,
Oh,
and
nice.
so it was so cool. They're so great out there. So Marshill Academy is where we have our home right now, and so I go in there. I do some other teaching and things like that. We are inundated with requests for teaching. So if we don't get back with you and you have requested us to come and speak to your class or something,
Yeah.
just hang tight. Maybe we'll get back to you. Obviously, I have to have my priorities at the school that my kids go to first. So I'm done with the coaster camp little spiel there. So let's get on to the next question. Sorry.
It's all right. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you did that. Which we'll take a side trip here. How can folks learn more about Coaster Camp?
Do a search for Coaster Camp Mars Hill Academy, and it pulls it up. And there's a little thing place to sign up and whatnot. It's in the summer, and so usually the registration starts around April or something like that. And yeah, it's a blast seeing these kids that again, there's that whole outcast thing. There's
Hmm.
some of them are going into junior high. They're sometimes kids like, God bless the soul. Like there is a family, is an enthusiast family that came out this year. Love them to death. The guy comes in, and I could tell he was into coasters, and he says, "Hi, I'm blah blah blah. I've ridden 127 roller coasters." Like that was the first thing out of his mouth, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, you found your family here." So I was like, "Yeah, plenty of us are that." So "Find Your People" by Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors, by the way.
There you go.
It's a fun song.
Nice. So, um, next question here. What is your life verse and why?
My life verse. So I was talking a little bit about this weird supernatural stuff.
Hmm.
Probably one of my first experiences. We were at this church growing up, and there was this visiting pastor that came in, and he was said that he had this prophecy ministry. And it's like, okay, that's weird. Like, I thought prophets were only in the Bible. I thought that, that was kind of a thing of the past. And so, but yeah, he was just exercising, trying to listen to God. And so he just prayed over people, and sometimes like verses or other words of encouragement, came to him, and he says, "Hey, this, might be for you." And um, so let's see here. I have it. Oops, where is it? It's Psalm. I just want to read it so I don't get it wrong. Psalm 90, verse 17. So I actually had this on my website when I was making my models too. And so this guy, he had had me open my hands, and he was looking at my hands, and he's like, "There's something about hands." And so he said, "There's a verse, Psalm 90, 17, and it's, may the favor of the Lord our God rest on us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands." And so that was like, huh. And so, my parents wrote it down for me, and it's just kind of kept coming back. And so, like I said, growing up, I always did stuff with my hands. I was always making stuff, designing stuff. When you're designing stuff, you're working with your hands on the computer. And so it was definitely this whole hands connection. And it was also kind of cool. My wife was at a women's retreat probably 15 years ago, and they all got these verses, and that was the verse that she got. I was
Wow.
like, like, how cool is that?
One big
So,
circle moment.
of all the how many thousands of verses in the Bible, and it's like, hey, Michael, this is for you. She probably said Mike. She calls me Mike more than Mike.
Cool. Now, some gravity group questions here. What
Yeah.
has been your favorite ground up coaster that you created?
That's like naming a favorite kid. Um, so it changes every time I answer the question. There's been some really special rides that we've done. I'm going to name three for various
Go
reasons.
for it.
One is a Wooden Warrior, debut of our new trains. It's just such a fantastic installation, just super fun. Um, the voyage was just amazing. When we opened that, everyone was kind of disbelief that it existed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a really cool experience working with Will Cook. I feel that he's obviously sorely missed, and he was one of those people that um, there's there's a few people you think about that are kind of a see the big picture and don't worry about all the little things. Don't be bothered by the little things. See the little things, but don't be bothered by them in being able to see that picture. He's one of them. In our industry, I feel like Dolly Parton
Mm-hmm.
and Walt Disney were also kind of in that
Yeah.
same like, you know, I know this is what needs to be done, and I need to get that done,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like, you know, um, there's a great story of him talking, actually it's Matt Eckert,
Mm-hmm.
um, who's our current leader down
Yeah.
there. He was talking about Will Cook, and Matt Eckert came in right around the year of the legend, and Will ran this crazy idea by him. Hey, let's give away free soft drinks. And Matt Eckert, being the accountant right out of school, was just like, I probably shouldn't say anything, so I'm not going to. This is the stupidest idea in the whole world. And he was very happy that he was proved wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And really, what they did is they installed the legend. They increased their gate by $4 to cover any cost plus markup of all their soft drinks, as well as some of the ride coverage, and kind of use that as the basis. So you always had that basis of free soft drinks. And he's like, I'm really sure we can market this, and this is probably what the park will become known for.
Well,
And
yeah.
yep, sure enough. Um, and then the last one is Kentucky Flyer, and the reason for that is, yeah, we had the track on there, um, and we had media day down there. And usually on media day, you're inviting, local news people and that kind of stuff. This was very much focused on a family ride, 40-inch height requirement, which puts you in the 3 to 4 year old range. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when the media's out there, they're looking for people that are young and things like that. So we're like, you know what? Let's take the kids out of school and go to media day at Kentucky Flyer, because that's what a roller coaster family should do, right?
Absolutely.
And of course, my daughter was 42 inches, so she was, definitely able to ride the 40-inch ride. She was 4 at the time, and so we go down there, and it was just a really fun experience. When you're, sometimes the memories are about who you're with, and not just the ride itself, which I'm really happy how the ride turned out. But having the family there for media day was awesome. And then on the way home, or the night after, I don't know, I was checking Instagram or Facebook or something, and I found out it was actually Take Your Kids to Work Day.
Hey,
And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm
I could have
gonna
totally
I'm gonna
planned this.
I'm gonna own that one. So yeah, I would say those are kind of the three that kind of jump out today. Obviously, there's plenty of really cool stories and rides that we've worked with. But yeah, we'll just stick with those.
Sounds good. And now, what was your favorite retrack project?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I think I would probably go probably the Beast.
Hmm.
Um, the Beast. It's one of those rides where the first time I rode it, it was in the early 2000s, and one of our engineers, Brian Kosmak, was actually the operator there,
Hmm.
and I was wearing a Raven hat, I remember, or a Raven shirt, or one of the two. And so he spotted me as an enthusiast. He's like, "How was your ride?" And I said, "That was the best mine train I've ever been on." And that really ticked him off. And I was proud of that. So he's one of our engineers now. Um, but I feel like the Beast is something where it's, I think the word right now is awakening
Yes.
for me, of like, it's like, hey, this is something like, I was there on Haunt a couple weekends ago. Of course, I went on a stupid Saturday, but I was meeting a friend who was in town,
Hmm.
and he had an extra fast lane. I don't have fast lane because I'm local,
Yeah.
but 45 minutes for the fast lane. It was absolute full
Hmm.
queue, 2.5 hours or so of the full queue, and to know that I was influential in making that queue long and making those ride experiences and memories. It's like you were saying, like the Beast is so amazing right
Yeah.
now, and also the fog. Like the fog is so
Yes.
awesome there too, right?
Hmm.
And so it's like this whole magical experience that you can
Yes.
do with the wood coaster. You don't have to have a $500 million Disney budget to create an experience that's just super memorable. So that's the first one that comes to mind. We've done so many now. We're close to I think 30. We've been average,
Wow.
or close to 40 actually. Last 3 years we've done 10 on average per year, and yeah, the track has really been super helpful for us.
Yeah, I'm so glad you guys breathed that new life into the Beast. Like I said earlier in our talk, it's one of those rides I refuse to ride up until you guys retract it. Like,
Hmm.
just what work you did to it, and it's so much fun. And I every single time we've been to Haunt this season, we had to go on the Beast at night. It was kind of sad the first time we rode it because the fog wasn't rolling through there. I'm like, "Where's the
Okay.
fog? That's the best part of this ride." But when we got on there and the second time, like, "Oh, here's the fog. It's pitch black out in the woods.
Hmm.
You're just flying through." I'm like, "Well done, Gravity Group. Well done."
Yeah, you got that chill air sometimes
Yes.
coming through the valley. Well, your experience was similar to my wife's, because when we were dating, um, we rode it, and she was like, she's had some back and shoulder injuries and things
Mhm.
like that over the years, and she's like, I can't ride that again. I was like, oh, that's a bummer. So she's like, oh, that was like, I just can't ride that ride anymore. Yeah, we're getting old or whatever, um, but she kind of said something along the lines is, unless something changes, and I
Hmm.
was like, oh,
Oh, I know a guy.
something did change. Let's try this again. And so she's like, oh yeah, that's enjoyable. Um, but here's the thing that everybody talks about the Beast, and one of my sixth graders or sixth graders from Coaster Camp said this. Is it a mid afternoon Beast ride? You don't get the full effect.
Mhm.
He's like, I don't know. I don't get the Beast. It's just a bunch of lifts and circles.
It's like, go back to the
And
bus. You're going home.
I know, right? I'm just like, yeah, you know what? There's some truth to that, but man, let's get
It's
some night rides
classic.
on you for you.
Yeah, man. Such a good time, even in the rain. Okay, another story on the Beast
Mm.
before we go to the next
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
So, this is towards the beginning of the season. We're there with some friends, and it's slowly raining at the night. Like, okay, great. I didn't bring a jacket or anything. We get into the station, get into our seats. Torrential downpour. I kid you not. We come rolling down the station. I'm like, no. And we get up to the top of the hill after that very slow incline. I'm getting a shower going up that slow hill. And then we start dropping down. I'm soaked as soon as we get off of that. And I'm like, thanks, Gravity Group. But
Nice.
it was an enjoyable ride, but a very wet ride. I felt like I was in Soak
Mm.
City. But, oh, goodness.
It wasn't like Orion stinging in your face though, right?
Oh, I've ridden Diamondback in the rain, and that's one of the worst coaster experiences I've ever had. It's like needles
Yeah.
like
Okay.
puncturing you.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Oh. Um, what project has been a challenge to complete, and how did you overcome it?
Good question. I feel like particularly a lot of the early Gravity Group rides, um, we had some major challenges, and we kind of made some signatures with that. Like um, even at Custom Coasters, the Lost Coaster was a huge challenge. Like we're like, hey, we have exactly this footprint to work with, um, and uh, so yeah, we'll just go with Lost Coaster, even though it's Custom Coaster's ride. We had next to no time to develop all this, the vertical lift, the cars, the magnetic brakes, a path that goes through this existing structure. And somehow we managed to do it. I do remember it opened late, and ironically, John Robinson, who I just mentioned with Coaster Camp, he and his dad had to, react to the media and delay things, and they were furious. I remember that. So, but yeah, it was a challenge, and yeah, it was one of those where back in the day, usually at Custom Coasters, the parks were like, okay, is this year going to be the year that we're going to start the ride construction? And so usually it was kind of like around July 4th. They're like, okay, we know how the season's doing. We have some good momentum, going into the second part of the year. And so it was one of those like fall decisions for the next year, plus all this R&D all had to happen. So I don't recommend that.
Yeah. Cool, cool. And now some listener questions. So we recently put out a question box and post on our Instagram and Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
And our listeners are having to ask, has anyone ever asked you to make a coaster longer than the voyage?
Yes, we've had a few inquiries. It would be really cool someday to kind of showcase all the stuff that never got off the drawing board. Um, for example, I don't know that any of these were there, but I remember one year when in the peak of the China development, I believe there was 40 different ride proposals we put together in one year.
Wow.
And even if a fraction of those, I think maybe one or two of those actually came through, but it was just crazy amounts of stuff that we're designing and trying to get through. So it's been um, there's been a couple that I can think of right now that I can't share that have been some really crazy over the top rides. Where like, hey, if you had no limits to work with, what could you do?
Cool.
Speaking of no limits, I do have another little
Go for
tiny
it.
story. So um, So at No Limits, there's a guy, the starter or the guy who made it was Oli Lang, or Lange, I'm not sure, German. So it was cool. He reached out to me a while back, and we were talking about roller coaster models and programming and stuff like that. And he's like, I don't know that you know. I reached out to you when you were doing your roller coaster models back in the day to find out a little bit more about how you were doing things. And so I started making one based off, some of the stuff that you said. And I was like, oh, really? That's amazing. Like, that's really cool. And he's like, but I found that it was just a lot easier to program it than to actually build it. And so I started, making this roller coaster simulator, and turns out that's what was one of the inspirations for No Limit. So I'm like, oh, God, that's a crazy blessing. Like, that's really cool to know how many people, have been able to use their creativity in No Limits, to create amazing works.
Yeah.
Like some of you guys out there are just doing crazy, awesome stuff in No Limits. Keep it up, because we could use some of that.
Send your ideas and everything to Mike and Gravity
No,
Group.
not any ideas, just your talent. That's what
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, we have a no ideas policy. It gets a little messy.
Suggestion
But
box.
I do have to toot my own horn. I said I wasn't trying to talk about me, but I'll just talk about, again, trying to harness, there's a whole philosophy about God actually is the one creative inside you.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember looking at all the B&Ms back in the 90s, and I was like, man, there's track above you, there's
Mhm.
track below you. What if there was a track next to you and no track next to you?
Hmm.
And I was like, man, that'd be cool if you had like, this is like right when the floorless stuff was coming out. So this
Yeah.
is behind, years before plenty of you listeners. So I drew up this track. I had the track in the middle and then the seats on the outside.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, this would be really cool. Like I was kind of envisioning something like Magnum, where you're
Hmm.
just like going straight. There's nothing above you, nothing below you,
Wow.
nothing to the side of you. And I was like, man, that would be a really cool train. Um, and so this is in the day of fax. So there's these machines out there where you're sending data over a telephone to create images. And so I faxed this to B&M in Switzerland. And I said, hey, you should make this. 1996. So I called it the hammerhead because I
Yeah.
thought it looked really cool. It looked like a hammerhead shark.
Hmm.
And so I faxed it to him and I said, hey, this would be a really cool idea. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And I got a fax back. And I was like, what? I sent it from my dad's office so that, he could send it and receive it. And I got a fax back. I still have it. It's cool. And it was like, yeah, we like your idea, but, we can't use it because it would, they gave some technical, rotational inertia, technical mumbo jumbo. 5 years later, first wing coaster came out,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I should have patented that.
So when you
So
ride Gatekeeper, everyone, remember
that's
Mike.
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes the ideas land, sometimes they don't. But it's just kind of cool to feel like, hey, maybe I do have something. Sometimes that's what kind of helps me out of like, hey, maybe there is some ideas and creativity, whether it's me or God or whatever,
Yeah.
that's coming up with some cool ideas.
Awesome. Now this next one, you can pass if you're not allowed to say. But what is the fate of Switchback at ZDT?
We don't know.
Hmm.
That is the truth. I can tell you that. The park is obviously trying to sell it. We've worked with quite a few people that have expressed some interest. Um, Usually, the challenge of either money or the hassle of moving it has prevented them from moving forward. Obviously, nobody has moved forward yet with it. Um, yeah, it's a frustrating time. The Basically his insurance to run the park went from, I think it was $50,000, and it was going to go up to $180,000 the next year.
Hmm.
And being a really small park, he's like, I just can't afford that. Like that's just not anywhere close to how I can
Yeah.
make ends meet here at the park. And so he just, he wanted to, he also kind of wanted to retire and spend more time with the grandkids and things like that. But he was just like, it just doesn't make any financial sense to keep the ride open. And so he was able to get an operator for his arcade. So there was another group locally that didn't want to step on his toes, but he had a relationship with. And so they were out of New Braunfels. They had an arcade up there, and so they were kind of hoping to expand into the Seguin area. And so that was kind of a cool, act or a cool opportunity for him. And now, he's also renting out some of the other buildings that he has. And so, yeah, he's kind of pivoting. It's a little, challenging, but he's also, just trying to figure out the next chapter. So that is the exhaustive version of your answer.
Okay. The next one is, what was your favorite coaster project to work on? I think we kind of answered that already, but
Yeah, we'll go with those three that I mentioned before.
okay. Next is, what's one coaster that you worked on where after you were surprised on how it turned out?
Cornball Express, I
Hmm.
think, would probably be the main thing where, we had what we were thinking. And I think it was one of those where people were a little surprised that you could have a family coaster with that much of airtime in a very constrained space. That was just super fun. It's gotten rough in the last, 5, 10 years, in particular. Um, but yeah, when it opened, it was really, really, really fun. It's kind of one of those, you get to the station and it's like, wow, that was just a ton of fun. Um, they wanted a family coaster. Denise used to say they got the Adams family coaster.
That's awesome. Uh, Another one that you can either hint or pass on. What are your 2026 projects that you're cooking up?
I cannot say.
All right.
That's just
Fair
as
enough.
simple as that. You will find out
In 2026.
as social media of XYZ Park decides or not decides to post anything. So we always have to follow the park's queue on what they announce. As soon as they do, we share it, and you'll know at that point.
All right, y'all. You'll find out in 2026. And then the last one
Well,
here is,
you might find out in 2025 for 2026,
yeah,
but yeah, we'll
you
see.
will definitely know in 2026 what Gravity Group's got up their sleeve.
Yeah, even if it might be opening day of that park.
Yeah, probably. And then, how are you adjusting during a time where family coasters are in demand?
It's good for us.
Hmm.
We have on the golden tickets, we have two of the top five family coasters.
Yeah.
Wooden Warrior and Bobcat are both in the top five, along the likes of Big Bear Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, very different budgets of rides, but if you're wanting a family ride, Gravity Group's got to be on your list because we've got some really strong candidates in that, and it's just one of those. It's just a great package. You have a very low cost maintenance ride, and it's a really good, genuine wood coaster feel. And with thinking about Bobcat, it's 100% pre-cut track, so it's super smooth. We actually pre-cut all the structure too, and it helps accelerate the precision and the time on site. Um, but yeah, they're both fantastic rides, as well as Oscar and Storyland and Wood Express and Wallaby Roan Alps Timber and Gronalund's Twister. So everything in that small size category they're just home runs. They're just fantastic. But I'm really biased as well. Go ride them.
Good stuff. And then lastly, here, each week we like to highlight a song that means something special to us for our song spotlight. So go ahead and plug the two songs you have for this week's song spotlights.
Yeah, as you can tell, my Christian music taste isn't as maybe as mainstream or normal as most people. Um, So I'm always looking for new music. I'm always, trying to find something that catches my ear that's different. I'm always looking for a good message that, maybe God has for me. And about a year ago, I found this one song. It's called Way Out. It's by Jet Trouble. I don't know why the band's named that, but it's primarily one guy. It's a really cool song. It's kind of a self-doubt song where the verses are talking about, what are the thoughts going through my head. And then the chorus is like, hey, I'm God. I've got a way out. Listen to me. I've got you. Just a really, really cool song. I highly recommend it. Um, and it's a little bit of a trend. There's a lot of really cool songs out, in my opinion, in Christian music right now that are just really talking about honesty, authenticity, mental health is a big trend right now. I really hoping that the music can remain open and honest. And the second one is a little bit similar about thoughts in your head. It's called Loop Cycle by the Grey Havens. This is a song I heard various places, but I think I heard it on Radio U up in Columbus. If you're into particularly some more aggressive music styles, check out Radio U for sure. Um, but yeah, the Loop Cycle song, it's it's powerful. If you gotta really listen to the lyrics, and it's talking about the cycle of doubt and everything else, anxiety in your head, and how God can break them down like Jericho's walls. It's really, really powerful.
Awesome. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on this week and to be one of our final guests for this era of the ROYL Podcast. And y'all, I hope this was a blessing, help, and encouragement to you as it was to me. And we're excited for the days ahead for Mike and Gravity Group. So stay tuned. And like we mentioned, keep looking to social media for 2026 appearances from Gravity Group. So
Awesome.
with that being said, hope you all have a good one, and we will see you next week here on the Ride Your Life Podcast.